DJI recently released the Action 6 Pro. The big question is if you already own an Action 5 Pro, should you consider upgrading? Or if you're looking for a new Action camera, should you consider the Action 5 Pro or the Action 6 Pro? In this video, I'm going to give you my unbiased and unsponsored review. I buy all the equipment myself. I'll give you real-world footage and show you what the differences are. The big headlines for the Action 6 Pro are the bigger sensor, variable aperture, and open gate shooting. Sounds amazing, but is this really better? Or is it just different? Let's go and find out. The cameras are similar in size. The Action 6 Pro is just a fraction bigger than the Action 5 Pro. All of the features like the dual screens, the magnetic mounting, and the waterproofing are very much the same. But the Action 6 Pro does bring some new features. Talking of the magnetic mounts, the Action 6 Pro now comes with a bi-directional magnetic mount. It can still use the old ones from the Action 5 and the Action 4. I do find with the Action 5 Pro though, when fitting the magnetic mount from the Action 6 Pro, the bi-directional one, that it can be a little fiddly. But the big physical upgrade is the variable aperture. This will give you more control in bright scenes and also in low light. But this isn't going to give you any change in the bokeh unless you are using the macro lens. Talking of the lenses, the Action 6 Pro will now detect when you put on the FOV or the macro lens without having to change the settings. If you already own the Action 5 Pro, there are a few accessories now that you won't be able to use, and we'll come to those in a while. Also, another thing to note is the Action 6 Pro does not come with a cage now like the Action 5 Pro did. So you do not get any vertical mount for vertical shooting with the Action 6 Pro. But I'm sure third parties will soon come out with cages that you can use for this. The covers to the ports I find a little bit more fiddly on the Action 6 Pro. You now have to slide them to the side and push them up or push them down. You also get a fraction more storage now on the Action 6 Pro. You get 50 gigabytes over the 47 gigabytes from the Action 5 Pro. Not a massive upgrade, but it may be useful. When it comes to batteries, they're both exactly the same. The Action 6 Pro and the Action 5 Pro are still quoted around about 4 hours, depending on what modes you're shooting in. This is the biggest change. The Action 5 Pro has a 1/1.3 inch sensor. This is already very good for an action camera. The Action 6 Pro has a 1/1.1 inch square sensor. Now this is going to give you more dynamic range, better low light performance, and also the ability to shoot open gate. So the difference being that over the Action 5 Pro, the Action 6 Pro can now shoot a square image that you can then crop vertically or horizontally. So now you have the options under the aspect ratio. This will allow you to switch the aspect ratio you want to film in. So you have the default aspect ratio, which is the same as the Action 5 Pro. This will allow you to film in horizontal, switch the camera sideways to film into vertical. This works the same. But you also now have a dedicated landscape and portrait mode, as well as the new custom mode. So this is an image taken in the custom mode where we're using all of the sensor. What I'm going to do is put a 16:9 underneath it, make it so you can see through the square image, and I'll expand it out to 16:9 just to show you that when using the custom mode, this is a 1:1 crop. You also now get a 2x lossless zoom on the Action 6 Pro. This is the Action 5 Pro digital zoom and the Action 6 Pro lossless zoom side by side. There is a marginal difference in the detail, but I will cover at the end of this video one issue I did find with the zoom on the Action 6 Pro. Also, when using the normal 10-bit mode, you now get the quality priority mode on the camera. It'll give you a better image, but this is at the expense of the battery life. On the left you have the priority mode off, on the right the priority mode on. This is very marginal, maybe a slight vividness in the priority on, but nothing dramatic. The Action 6 Pro also brings a new field of view setting, and that is the natural wide. Unlike the normal wide mode, natural wide will give you some de-warp, a bit like the standard de-warp. Let me show you this. So this is the natural wide. Okay, so this is the last of the features for this section. This is the new portrait mode that you now get in the camera settings. This will give you better skin tones and gives you a much better crop for portrait style of shooting, so it's good for vlogging and headshot videos. In low light, the Action 6 Pro shows noticeably cleaner shadows. The larger sensor and the wider f2.0 aperture keep the ISO down. The 5 Pro isn't bad at all, but the 6 Pro definitely pulls ahead in this area. One new feature is the starburst at f4, which gives you a nice effect in low light scenes. The Action 5 Pro already offered excellent colour and dynamic range, but the 6 Pro should give you more room for clipping in the highlights. The Action 6 Pro now comes with two colour profiles, a D-Log-M 10-bit and the normal 10-bit. The Action 5 Pro had the addition of the normal 8-bit and the HLG. The Action 6 Pro does have some new film tones that could be added to the normal 10-bit. These will allow you to bake them into the image and set the percentage that you want, but be warned, these will not be able to be removed once you've recorded with this setting on. This is an example with the film tone set to cinematic at 50%. I don't normally record in the studio with an Action camera as my A cam, but I felt it was fitting for this video, so let's give it a go. What I said earlier about the Action 5 Pro accessories, if you own any lens attachments like ND filters or the FOV boost lens, then you're not going to be able to use this on the Action 6 Pro, as the diameter of the lens has changed and also the lens protector. DJI have released a new set of lenses, so you have a new FOV lens and you also have the new macro lens, as well as a set of ND filters that push over the lens protector. These are quite nice to use. So should you upgrade to the Action 6 Pro, or even buy the Action 6 Pro over the Action 5 Pro? It really comes down to, if you do a lot of shooting during daytime and you don't need the open gate, then the Action 5 Pro actually is a very capable camera. But if you do want to use open gate, or you shoot during low light situations, then the Action 6 Pro will be your obvious choice. All of the features that we've been through are nice to haves, but they're not necessarily essential. The Action 5 Pro can still do most of these things and is a good, capable camera. Also at the moment, I found with D-Log-M, I seem to be getting a load of noise in the image and some artifacts. Hopefully this is something that DJI can fix in a firmware update. Fingers crossed. Also, when you're using the 2x lossless zoom on the Action 6 Pro, you can't adjust it once you start recording. So if you start recording with it on, you can't turn it off. Or if you want to zoom in while you're recording, you can't do that. It grays out the zoom capability once you press the record button. Hopefully again, this is something DJI will maybe give us in a firmware update. I will be diving into the video quality between the Action 5 Pro and the Action 6 Pro in another up and coming video, so please make sure you subscribe if you want to see that one. At the end of the day, I don't think the Action 6 Pro is better than the Action 5 Pro, certainly not in image quality. They seem quite comparable. I think the Action 6 Pro is just a different way of shooting. I hope this video has been useful. Please give the video a like if it has, it helps the channel. And I'll see you again soon in another video.